Francisco Balagtas y de la Cruz, also known as Francisco Baltazar, was a prominent Filipino poet, and is widely considered as one of the greatest Filipino literary laureate for his impact on Filipino literature. The famous epic, Florante at Laura, is regarded as his defining work. The name Baltazar, sometimes misconstrued as a pen name, was a legal surname Balagtas adopted after the 1849 edict of Governor-General Narciso Claveria y Zaldua, which mandated that the native population adopt standard Spanish surnames instead of native ones. Early life: Francisco Balagtas was born on April 2, 1788, in Barrio Panganay, Bigger, Bulacan, as the youngest of the four children of Juan Balagtas, a blacksmith, and Joana de la Cruz. He studied in a parochial school in Bigger and later in Manila. During his childhood years, Francisco later worked as callboy in Tondo, Manila. He worked as a callboy to earn for his son's tuition fee. Life as a poet: Balagtas learned to write poetry from Jose Copyright de la Cruz, one of the most famous poets of Tondo, in return of chicks. It was de la Cruz himself who personally challenged Balagtas to improve his writing. Balagtas swore he would overcome Jose as he would not ask anything in return as a poet. In 1835, Balagtas moved to Pandacan, where he met Mara Asunciacu den Rivera, who would effectively serve as the muse for his future works. She is referenced in Florante at Laura Acelia and Mar. Balagtas' affections for Mar were challenged by the influential Mariano Capul. Capul won the battle for Mar when he used his wealth to get Balagtas imprisoned. It was here that he wrote Florante at Laura. In fact, the events of this poem were meant to parallel his own situation. He wrote his poems in Tagalog, during an age when Filipino writing was predominantly written in Spanish. Balagtas published Florante at Laura upon his release in 1838. He moved to Balanga, Batayan in 1840, where he served as the assistant to the Justice of the Peace. He was also appointed as the translator of the court. He married Joana Tiambeng on July 22, 1842, in a ceremony officiated by Fr. Cayetano Arellano, uncle of future Philippine Supreme Court Chief Justice Cayetano Arellano. They had 11 children, but only 4 survived to adulthood. On November 21, 1849, Governor-General Narciso Claveria issued a decree that every Filipino native must adopt a Spanish surname. In 1856, he was appointed as the major lieutenant, but soon after was convicted and sent to prison again in Batayan under the accusation that he ordered a rich man's housemaid's head to be shaved. He was again released from prison in 1860 and continued writing poetry, along with translating Spanish documents, but 2 years later, he died on February 20, 1862, at the age of 73. Upon his deathbed, he asked a favor that none of his children become poets like him, who had suffered under his gift as well as under others. He even went as far as to tell them it would be better to cut their hands off than let them be writers. Balagtas is so greatly revered in the Philippines that the term for Filipino debate and extemporaneous verse is named after him, Balagtasan. Legacy. An elementary school was erected in honor of Balagtas, the Francisco Balagtas Elementary School, located along Alvarez Street in Santa Cruz, Manila. There is also a plaza and park erected in Pandacan, Manila, while most of the streets were named after various Florante at Laura characters in honor of Francisco Balagtas. His birthplace, Bigger, Bulacan, was renamed to Balagtas, Bulacan in honor of him. A museum, historical marker, monument and elementary school has been placed in his birthplace at Panganay, Balagtas, Bulacan. A Mercurian crater was also named after him. Works: Florante at Laura, and a wit. Balagtas' masterpiece, Orisma en et Zafira a Comedia in 4 parts, Don Nuar plus or minus o at Celinda a Comedia in 3 parts, Oridato at Astroma a Comedia in 3 parts, Clara Belmore a Comedia in 3 parts, Abdol at My Serena a Comedia, staged in a bouquet in 1857, Biachito at Deslica a Comedia in 3 parts, staged at Updilng on September 27, 1857, Alamansor et Rosalinda a Comedia staged at Uttiong during the town's feast, La India Elegante yl. Negrito Amandia a short play in one part, Nudo Gordiano, Rodolfo at Rosamunde, Mahomet at Constanza, Clause, see also. Literature of the Philippines, external links, Francisco Balagtas at an online guide about the Philippine history, works by Francisco Balagtas at Project Gutenberg.